She sat in the parking lot for 18 minutes. The coffee shop was right there. Warm light in the window. The kind that makes everything inside look easier than it is. She could see him through the glass, at the table by the wall, turning his phone over and over, the way people do when they are early, and trying not to look early. She was 61. She had changed her blouse 3 times. She had told her daughter she was meeting a friend, which was almost true. On the drive over, she had practiced saying her own name out loud, like it was a word in a language she used to speak. What kept her in that seat was not the man at the table by the wall. She was afraid of what it would mean if she walked in there and felt something, because feeling something would mean she still wanted something, and she had spent 4 years teaching herself not to want. Her husband had been gone 3 years. The marriage had been gone about 9. At 6:52, she opened the car door. "I want to stay here for a while. The next few days. This is where I am." What happens to people after 50 when they decide they are not finished? If I change the subject, I will say so out loud. Nobody has to guess. Something happened to marriage in this country, and it did not happen to the young. In 1990, only 8% of everyone who got divorced in the United States was 50 or older. Today that share is close to 40%. Among married women 50 and up, the divorce rate went from 3.9 per thousand in 1990 to 11 in 2008. It sat at 10.3 in 2023. The overall divorce rate fell during those same years. It fell for everyone except us. The headline always leaves out the rest of it. 2 out of 3 of those late divorces are started by the woman, 66%. She is the one who files. People read that number as failure, a marriage that could not go the distance. 30 years and then paperwork. I do not read it that way anymore, because a woman who leaves at 55 is not walking away from her life. She is walking into the last 30 years of it, and she has done the math on what those years are worth. Do that math with me for a second. A person who reaches 65 in this country now has almost 20 more years in front of them, 19.7 in the most recent count. For women, it is closer to 21, 20 years. Your grandmother at 65 was being handed a cardigan and a chair by the window. She was finishing. You at 65 have enough time in front of you for a child to be born, grow up, leave home, and come back with children of her own. 20 years is long enough to learn Italian and forget it and learn it again. Long enough to bury a friend and make a new one and know them well enough to be angry at them. Long enough to be wrong about something for a decade and then find out. Nobody sits in a hospital parking lot at 58, hands still shaking, and thinks, well, that is the end of the story. They think, I have time, and then they get scared because they know exactly what that means. It means the question comes back, the one you thought you had permanently answered. Now I want to leave feelings alone for a minute and tell you something clinical, because this part is not poetry. In 2023, the Surgeon General of the United States issued an advisory on loneliness, not on smoking, not on sugar, on loneliness. He wrote that being socially disconnected carries a mortality risk in the same range as smoking 15 cigarettes a day and a higher risk than obesity or sitting still. The specifics are worse than the summary. chronic isolation is associated with a 29% higher risk of heart disease, a 32% higher risk of stroke. Among older adults, a 50% higher risk of developing dementia. And there is a study I keep coming back to, a review of 148 separate studies. More than 300,000 people followed over time. People with strong social ties were 50% more likely to still be alive at the end of the follow-up than people without them. It held across age and sex. It held no matter how sick they were the day the study began. 50%. That is not a greeting card. That is a survival curve. Meanwhile, more of us are living by ourselves than at any point anyone has measured. 1 in 5 Americans between 50 and 54 lives alone. About 1 in 3 between 55 and 74. Half of everyone over 75. Now, I want to be careful here because these two facts get welded together and they should not be. Living alone is not the same as being alone. I have known people who lived by themselves for 20 years and had somebody in their kitchen every Sunday. And I have known people who slept next to the same body for 30 years and had not been asked a real question in a decade. There are marriages that are just two people managing the same house, quiet as an empty room and legal. What does the damage is going a whole week without anyone noticing what kind of week you had. If this is landing somewhere real, subscribe and stay with me for the next few days because this only goes deeper from here. And do something for me in the comments. Tell me how old you were when you first assumed this part of your life was over, not when it ended. When you assumed it was over. Those are usually different ages, and the gap between them is where most of this lives. I went into this expecting to find people trying to rebuild what they lost. That is not what they are doing. They are not going back to what they had. They are building something that does not have a name yet. When you picture a 62-year-old finding somebody, you probably picture a small second wedding, a courthouse, a nice jacket, 2 adult children standing at the back looking uncertain. That is happening. It is not the main thing that is happening. Since 2007, the number of Americans over 50 living with an unmarried partner grew by 75%. 4 million people by 2016. Up from 2.3 million. Most of them had been married before. 55% were divorced. And then there is the arrangement that took me the longest to understand. Researchers call it living apart together. A committed romantic relationship, years long sometimes, in which the two people keep separate homes. About 4% of adults over 60 in the United Kingdom are in one, and the American numbers look similar. Among single women over 60 who form a new relationship, living apart together is roughly 10 times more likely to be the destination than moving in or getting married. 10 times. The first time I read that, I filed it under fear. Somebody keeping one foot out the door. I do not file it there anymore. Think about who that woman is. She raised children. She probably nursed somebody through the worst months of his life, and she did it in that house. And she knows what the 3rd night in a row of no sleep does to a person. She has settled an estate. She has cleaned out a closet that belonged to somebody who was not coming back. She is not afraid of commitment. She has done more of it than most people ever will. She just knows the price of a shared kitchen now, down to the penny. And she has decided she wants the man, and the Sunday, and the phone call at 11 at night. not the mortgage, and not the negotiation about the thermostat, and not somebody else's opinion about her furniture. That is not less love, that is love from someone who has read the whole contract. So what are they looking for? AARP asked. In 2024, 76% of people over 50 who are dating said companionship was the main reason. 12% said physical intimacy was the main reason, although 64% said it still mattered. Companionship is a thin word for a thick thing. It means somebody who knows that Thursday is the hard day. Somebody who can tell from the first syllable on the phone. Somebody to say the small stupid thing to at the exact moment you think it, instead of holding it until it goes stale. The nervous system is not asking for romance, it is asking for a witness. But then, there is a number that does not fit the tidy version of this story. 58% of single people over 50 say they believe in love at first sight. In 2014, it was 43%. It went up. After the divorces, after the lawyers, after the funerals, after the years of being careful, this group got more romantic, not less. I think what happens is that when you have been through it, you stop believing in the machinery. You stop believing that if you tick enough boxes and screen carefully enough, you can engineer a safe outcome. You already tried that. You did it beautifully once, and it still ended. So what is left is the thing you cannot manufacture. The look across a room, the moment somebody laughs at the exact half of the sentence you meant. You believe in that more, not less, because you have watched everything else fail. There is a small, unglamorous humiliation buried in all of this that nobody warns you about. Online dating among people over 50 grew 70% between 2019 and 2024. That is the fastest growth of any age group in the country, faster than the 20-somethings it was built for. Which means a very large number of dignified adults are sitting alone in their living rooms, holding a phone at arm's length, trying to take a picture of their own face. You have to write a paragraph about yourself. After 60 years of being a person, you have to summarize. And every honest sentence sounds either sad or like bragging, so you delete it and write something about hiking, and you do not even hike. Then you send a message into the dark, and nothing comes back, and you tell yourself it does not matter, and you check again 40 minutes later. I am not making fun of it. I think it is one of the bravest ordinary things people do, because to do it at all, you have to say a sentence out loud that most people over 50 will not say in front of a mirror. I want somebody. That sentence costs almost nothing at 25. At 67, it costs everything, because it is an admission that the arrangement you have made with yourself, the one where you are fine, was a story you were telling. Here is something I wish somebody had told me at 42. Researchers have followed about 50,000 adults across Australia, Britain, and Germany over decades of their lives, tracking how satisfied they were. The pattern that comes out is a U. People start out reasonably happy. It slides down through the 30s. It bottoms out somewhere in the 40s. And then, after 50, it climbs. No proverb. A curve in a data set, and it shows up in country after country. Which means that when you were 44 and exhausted and wondering when you had become somebody who does not laugh much, you were not becoming that person permanently. You were at the bottom of a shape. You are not curdling. You are by the numbers on the way up. And this is exactly when people meet somebody, which I do not think is a coincidence. You are more available to another person at 60 than you were at 40. Not because you have more time, although you might, because there is less noise. You are not auditioning for a career. You are not being watched by your own parents. You are not trying to be a certain kind of person by a certain birthday. You just want the Tuesday to be good. At 25, you love somebody without knowing the price. You think the risk is that it might not work out. That is not the risk. The risk is that it works completely for 30 years, and then one of you gets sick, and you learn what your own hands look like at 4 in the morning in a hospital corridor. At 60, you know the price. You have been billed, and they know, and they are doing it anyway. That is a different act than what a young person does. A young person says yes because they cannot see what is coming. A person at 63 says yes with the whole invoice in front of them. They have read it. They understand that this probably ends the same way, and that somebody is going to be the one left with the closet. They say yes anyway. There is newer research on this that I find almost too on the nose. Among partnered middle-aged and older adults, the quality of the relationship predicts mortality risk better than what kind of relationship it is. Married, cohabiting, apart together, no label at all. The paperwork is not what is keeping people alive. It is whether somebody picks up when you call, whether you can be dull in front of them, whether you get looked at. Not a great romance. Just being known on an ordinary weekday by someone with no obligation to bother. She opened the car door at 6:52. He stood up too fast and hit his knee on the underside of the table, and she watched him decide not to react to it, which is when she first liked him. The coffee went cold. Neither of them touched it after the first 10 minutes. They talked for 4 hours, and at some point, the staff started putting the chairs up on the tables around them, and they moved outside and kept going in the parking lot she had been sitting in. I do not know how it ended. I am not sure it has. But I know about the 18 minutes. The blouse changed 3 times, the name practiced out loud in the car like a language she used to speak. And I know she opened the door. If somebody came to mind while you were listening, send this to them. 5 people, if you have 5. Somebody who thinks that door is closed. Subscribe, because I am staying with this for the next few days, and I want you here. And in the comments, tell me the true thing, not the polished version, where you actually are with this right now. Then, tell me what you want me to talk about next, and I will read every one of them. I will see you tomorrow.